Hi guys, what is up? It is me, the Masked Ranger, and we're doing Chapter 5, Fitting In. Does it feel like I've done this chapter before? Well, yes. I had actually recorded the chapter all the way in Bexhill last month, but for some reason, despite recording the chapter, it wasn't uploaded onto YouTube, because last I checked, there may have been a good memory file check, so, looks like my recording for that isn't here, so I've had to record Chapter 7 and Chapter 5 again, because obviously I hadn't done them, but when I did before. So I'm really sorry that I'll have to re-upload about 2 chapters, because they weren't originally there. So, I hope you understand. Let's just get started with Chapter 5 once more. Hiro sat at the computer in the back of his garage, making adjustments to the digital design he was working on. As he worked, the sound of multiple engines rolling up caught his attention. Glancing backwards, Hiro caught sight of a light passing under the garage door before the engines cut off. He heard car doors opening and closing, along with the sound of people chatting before the garage door was pulled open. Tadashi stood behind the door, Honey at his side, not wearing her glasses as she pulled off the spare riding helmet and placed it on Tadashi's scooter sitting behind them. At the same time, Wasabi, Gogo, and Fred were walking up the driveway between them, a gray van parked by the curb at the end of the driveway. "Hey, little brother," Tadashi greeted with a smile. "How's the work coming?" Alright, I guess," Hiro replied with a confused tone as he spun the chair to face the group. "What are you all doing here?" "Came to check out what you were working on, of course. Plus, we wanted to check out you and Tadashi's pad," Fred explained as he trotted in, before his eyes lit up as he spotted something. "Oh, sick! Beanbag chair!" Without another word, Fred ran forward before flipping onto the beanbag chair in the corner, landing upside down with a flump. "Tadashi was telling us all about your idea, Hiro," Honey said as she put her glasses back on and fixed her hair. "Pretty clever stuff," Wasabi commented as he walked up near Hiro, and leaned against the workbench with his arms crossed. "If you can get it working," Gogo added as she sat in the empty chair on the other side of the room, spinning it around before propping her feet up on the other workbench, blowing a bubble with her chewing gum as she settled. "Have a little faith, Gogo," Tadashi stated with a smirk as he sat on the old couch, Honey settling with a smirk as he sat on the old couch, Honey settling next to him. "What part of the process are you in?" "Still designing, mostly," Hiro replied as he indicated toward the computer screen. "I based the spine off the servos I was already using for Megabot, and I think I figured out how to miniaturize the magnets and circuitry. There's a snag, though." "What's that?" Honey questioned. "I haven't figured out how to control them yet," Hiro sighed. "With how many of these things you need to control for it to be useful, it's way too complicated for a controller or something like it." "This is a pickle," Wasabi commented, stroking his goatee thoughtfully. "Have you tried asking Fargo yet?" Fred questioned. Hiro looked at Fred in confusion for a moment before the nickname clicked in his head. "Riley?" Hiro asked, earning a nod from Fred. "Why would I ask her?" "Because she's your muse," Gogo answered offhandedly before blowing another bubble. My what?" Hiro questioned flusteredly, his cheeks coloring as he turned to look at Gogo. "She's the one who inspires you," Tadashi explained. "She's the one who made you confess to that cop. She's the one who got you to come check out SFIT. Or SFIT. She's the one who put the idea for the microbots in your head. Hell, she even named them. Why do you think I wanted her to talk to you when you were in that rut in the first place?" Hiro said nothing in reply, a pensive look crossing his face as he thought over what Tadashi had said. As Hiro thought, his phone buzzed on the desk next to him, bringing his attention to it. "That your girlfriend?" Gogo asked. She's not my girlfriend," Hiro stammered, his face blushing brightly again. "Why not?" Gogo questioned pointedly, looking over at Hiro with a quirked eyebrow. "From what I've heard about her, she seems way cooler than you." "She obviously has a crush on you," Honey commented as Hiro bristled at Gogo's comment, causing him to look at the willowy girl in surprise. Really? Hiro questioned. I mean, yeah, but not as big as the one she has in Go-Go, Fred replied with a snort. Excuse me? Go-Go questioned as she looked over at Fred. Not like that, Tadashi explained, but I do have it on good authority that she thinks, and I quote, "You are the coolest person she has ever met." Go-Go smirked at that. What can I say? She questioned rhetorically, lacing her hands behind her head as she leaned further back in the chair. Kid his taste. As the others talked, Hiro looked at his phone. So, is it from her? Fred questioned. I don't see how that's any of your business, Hiro replied, shooting a glare at Fred. It's from her, Fred surmised with a grin. It's a my-face invite, Wasabi noted as he looked over Hiro's shoulder at the boy's phone. Hey! Hiro snapped as he spun around and waved his arm at Wasabi, causing the young man to back up with a chuckle. To be fair, if I had a girlfriend, I would want to keep our conversations private. Well, there you go, Go-Go commented. Now you can make it my face official. She's not my girlfriend, Hiro meant to growl, though it came out more as a whine. She's like 11, I think. Got something against younger women? Go-Go questioned. Well, to be fair, there is a law saying that you can't have a relationship with someone who's under 12, I think. Stop teasing him, Yuri, Honey admonished before turning her attention towards Hiro. How old is Riley? Hiro murmured as he brought up Riley's profile on his phone. A picture of the girl dressed in hockey gear grinning back at him from the screen. I was right, she's 11. Well, for a little while anyway. What do you mean? Wasabi questioned. I think it's going to be someone's very special day. It says here her birthday is next week, Hiro explained as he glanced down at the phone again. Ah, nice. It is? Honey questioned, an excited grin crossing her face. Oh, we should do something for her. Like what? Throw her a party? Hiro questioned. Exactly! We should throw her a party! Honey agreed, clapping her hands as she bounced up and down in her seat excitedly. You know, I think Honey Lemon and Pinkie Pie will get along really well. You really want to throw the kid a birthday party? Go-Go questioned with a groan as she looked over at Honey. Yuri, I know you haven't seen it, but that girl adores you, Honey replied pointedly. I've talked with her mother, and Tadashi has told us all about what happened to her before we met her. She's lonely. It would mean a lot to Riley if we did this, especially if you helped. Fine, Go-Go sighed, though the small grin on her face showed that she didn't feel as put upon as she implied. What about the rest of you? Honey questioned. Sure, why not? Wasabi agreed with a shrug. I'm always up for a party, Fred added with a laugh. I think this will be a lot of fun, Honey, Tadashi said with a grin, earning a warm smile from the young woman. What do you think, bro? I don't know, Hiro replied hesitantly, looking down at the phone in his hand. Smiling slightly, Tadashi stood up and walked over to Hiro, crouching down so he was eye level with his seated brother. Hiro, I'm going to ask you a question, and when I do, know I'm being completely serious, Tadashi said, drawing his brother's attention towards him. Do you like Riley? Well, yeah, Hiro replied awkwardly. She's my friend. She saved me and helped me come up with the microbots. Of course I like her. That's good, bro, but that's not what I'm asking. Tadashi started with a chuckle before reaching out and resting a hand on Hiro's shoulder. I mean, do you really like her? Hiro said nothing as he looked away from Tadashi, his face turning a bright shade of red. Well, whatever it is, I'm sure you'd like to do something nice for her, right? Tadashi questioned with another chuckle. Of course, Hiro stammered. But what about my project? Your project isn't going anywhere, Tadashi reassured him. Besides, you've hit a roadblock. You're not going to solve it by coming at it head on. If you step away and work on something else, the solution will come to you on its own. You think? Hiro questioned hopefully. Well, yes, I've been admittedly having problems in my own story as well. I may have repeated this over and over again, but for those, as you know, I am still dead. I'm still well on my way to writing my own story, known as Lights of Unity, Tambalon Reborn. Although, I've been extremely busy this week, helping out at home. Some stuff, nice stuff. We're planning on eventually taking a camping trip this weekend, and hopefully I'll get to see The Incredibles 2 with my dad next weekend before going up with him for the rest of the summer. So, I haven't really had any time to think about actually sitting down on my phone and typing in the story, and whenever I'm about to, usually stuff happens that kind of demotivates me, and when I do get motivated, I just don't know what to put down. So I'm struggling with that, but I am gonna hopefully do this story at the end of the summer, if not somewhere before the end of the year. You think? Hiro questioned hopefully. I know, Tadashi stated with a grin. Okay, Hiro said with a nod before a bright grin crossed his face. Okay, let's do it. You're right. I usually am, Tadashi said as he stood up, earning an eye roll from Hiro. So what should we do for Riley's birthday? I've got some ideas, Hiro replied with a grin. Well, before you plan anything, there's someone else you have to talk to, Tadashi stated as he crossed his arms over his chest. Oh, don't worry, I'll talk to Tip, Hiro replied. Yeah, you should do that, Tadashi agreed with a chuckle. But that's not who I'm talking about. Oh, I think Tadashi knows what he's talking about. The next day, Hiro stood on the sidewalk, nervously fidgeting as he looked up at Riley's house. If you heard that, I was clicking Lowe's lead since we're walking currently. I always walk for recording, although on some special occasions. He had known Riley for over a week now, but even though she had been to his house plenty of times, he had never been to hers. But still, it wasn't weird for him to be at her house. At least, it wouldn't have been if she had been home. Which he knew she wasn't, because he had made sure to wait until she left for school for the day. Taking a breath, Hiro forcibly calmed his nerves as he looked back at the narrow staircase that led to Riley's narrow house. This is stupid, Hiro grumbled to himself. You've got nothing to worry about. You met her parents already, after you got released from jail. Groaning, Hiro turned his attention back towards the narrow stairs before taking another breath and marching up them. His courage failed him again as he reached the door. His hand held out hesitantly to ring the doorbell. He could hear the sound of Riley's parents moving about inside, their muffled chatter floating through the door. Sighing, Hiro reached out and rang the doorbell. Ding dong! The conversation quieted inside and Hiro could hear heavy steps approaching the door. A moment later, the door swung open and Bill Anderson stood before Hiro, dressed for work and a cup of coffee in his other hand. Bill glanced around in confusion for a moment before his eye fell on Hiro, his expression changing rapidly from surprise to recognition and finally settling on to Hiro's dread, annoyance. Good morning, Mr. Anderson, Hiro greeted with a small wave and a nervous chuckle. Morning, Bill replied slowly, giving Hiro an appraising look. You're the Hamada boy, right? Hiro, was it? Yeah, that's me, Hiro answered, his brain screaming in frustration as his mouth refused to cooperate. If you're looking for Riley, she's already left for the day, Bill explained, glancing at the watch on his wrist, his own need to leave going unspoken. That's okay, Hiro replied, nervously running a hand through his messy hair. I was actually hoping to talk to you and... Honey, who's that Jill Anderson said, accidentally cutting Hiro off as she walked up behind Bill and peeked over his shoulder, her face breaking out into a warm smile as she saw the boy standing at the threshold. Hiro! What a pleasant surprise! What brings you here this morning? He wanted to talk to us, Bill answered dryly, glancing at his wife. Well, isn't that nice? Jill asked rhetorically, before shifting Bill to the side. Come on in. Thank you, Hero replied nervously, stepping past Bill as he followed Jill towards the kitchen. Jill, Bill began to argue before his wife cut him off with a pointed look. You could spare a few minutes to hear Hero out, Jill stated with a tone that broke no argument. He came all this way by himself to talk to us. It's the least we can do. Bill grumbled something about Hero only living a block away, but followed the two into the kitchen nonetheless. Was that a bird? I would ask if you wanted anything to eat, but seeing as you live above a cafe, I have a feeling you don't need to worry about breakfast. Jill joked as she walked over to the kitchen table, a mug of coffee waiting for her. Have a seat. Thanks, Hero replied as he took the offered seat, Jill's friendly demeanor relieving much of his anxiety. Bill, for his part, remained at the doorway to the kitchen, leaning against the frame. So, what can we help you with, Hero? Jill questioned. Well, I know that Riley's birthday was coming up, Hero explained nervously, occasionally glancing at Bill, whose gaze was focused solely on him. So me, my brother, and our friends, that is, we were thinking of maybe throwing a party for her. That's very sweet of you, Jill said with a smile before giving Bill a pointed look. Isn't it, Bill? Yeah, I guess, Bill replied, glancing away from Hero. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of music that you could hear as I was walking under a ladder, and the sound of a car that was driving by me. What were you thinking? Jill questioned as she turned her attention back to Hero, smiling at him. Well, we haven't worked out all the details yet, but we thought it might make it something of a surprise, Hero explained. I found out it's possible to rent out the ice rink for things like this, and wouldn't be too expensive if we all pooled our money. My aunt said she would bake a cake, too. That sounds like a wonderful idea, Jill said happily, bringing a smile to Hero's face. We're definitely on board, right, honey? Bill made a non-committal grunt as he took another sip of his coffee. Look, can you really blame him? The first time he met Hero was in a jail cell with Riley. Now, you work out the rest of the details with your friends and keep us in the loop, okay? Jill asked, earning a nod from Hero. Good. Thank you so much for stopping by with this wonderful idea, Hero. Feel free to come back anytime. Thanks, Hero said with a grin as he stood up and began making his way back to the door. Have a good day, Mr. Anderson. Yeah, sure, Bill mumbled as Hero walked past him and exited the house. See? Jill said, crooking an eyebrow at her husband. I told you he was a nice boy. A nice boy who got himself arrested, Bill replied, though it only gained him an eye roll from his wife. A few days later, the sunlight filtering through her window woke Riley from her slumber. Yawning, she sat upright in her bed, stretching her arms above her head. Oh, that rhymed. After rubbing her eyes, she glanced around her room, which looked completely different from what it had been about 2 weeks previous. The room was no longer large and empty, instead filled with furniture such as her bed, a desk, and a set of drawers to complement her closet full of clothes. Hockey pictures and glow-in-the-dark stars hung from the walls, and a colored rug covered the wooden floor. Sorry, some sweat almost got into my eye. An electronic chirp caught Riley's attention, bringing it to her phone, charging on the nightstand next to her bed. Picking it up, she read the text she'd received before smiling. Putting the phone down, she grabbed her laptop, which was also charging on her nightstand, and quickly opened it up. A few clicks later, and a video chat window was opened before her, a little light near the top of the screen indicating the laptop's built-in webcam had turned on. A second later, the face of a girl roughly the same age as Riley appeared on screen. She had a pale complexion and bright red, curly hair that was held back from her face by a green headband. Her blue-gray eyes were framed by green glasses, and she smiled brightly at the sight of Riley. "Hey, Meg," Riley greeted cheerfully. "Hey," the girl, Meg, replied happily. "Happy birthday." "Thanks," Riley stated with a smile. "I didn't wake you, did I?" Meg questioned as she noticed Riley still dressed in her pajamas. "I'm still getting used to this time difference thing." "No, it's fine. I was getting up anyways," Riley answered with a shrug. "So, 12 years old, huh? Pretty big," Meg said, causing Riley to chuckle. "Any big plans for the day?" "Not really. Just happy it's on a Saturday this year," Riley replied, shaking her head. "Probably just celebrate it with my parents. Hang out with my new friends." "And by friends you mean that boy, don't you?" Meg questioned with a grin. "Oh, come on, Meg!" Riley groaned as she rolled her eyes. "Hey, you're the one who friended him on my face, so now I could put a face to the name," Meg argued. "I have to say, he seems pretty cute." "Stop," Riley pleaded with a chuckle. "I get enough of this from Tip." "I like this Tip. I need to meet her," Meg stated. "Even though you're trying to replace me with her." "Nobody could replace you, Meg," Riley reassured her best friend. "I'm going to hold you to that," Meg warned before smiling warmly at Riley. "Anyway, I won't hold you up. Have a great birthday, Riley." "Thanks, Meg. I'll talk to you again soon," Riley replied happily. "Looking forward to it," Meg said before waving. "Bye." "Bye," Riley replied, waving before shutting her laptop. For a moment, Riley merely sat in her bed, drumming her fingers atop of her laptop and sighing with melancholy. After the moment had passed, Riley shook herself back to the present, put her laptop aside, and hopped to her feet. A few minutes later, Riley came walking down the stairs, dressed in a loose pair of olive green cargo shorts and a yellow t-shirt. Reaching the bottom, she found her mother sitting in the kitchen, reading something on her phone. "Morning, Mom," Riley greeted as she wandered in. "Good morning, birthday girl," Jill said happily, setting her phone down, standing up, and walking over to Riley before pulling the girl into a hug and kissing the top of her head. "How are you feeling today?" "Great," Riley replied as she hugged her mother back before pulling away. "Meg called me." "That's very sweet of her," Jill replied as she made her way back over to her seat. "Any plans for the day?" "Not really," Riley replied with a shrug before she glanced around. "Where's Dad?" "Your father had to go into the office for a little while," Jill explained. "He'll be back later to celebrate your birthday." "Okay," Riley said with a shrug. "I think I might go see what Tip's up to. Maybe go down to the Lucky Cat." Jill smiled as Riley tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the reason for her wanting to go to the cafe going unspoken. "That sounds fun," Jill agreed. "Why don't—" Jill was interrupted as the doorbell rang. "Ding dong!" "I wonder who that could be," Jill questioned, though her tone seemed off to Riley. "I'll get it," Riley volunteered as she began making her way to the door, missing the smile that spread across her mother's features. "Hello?" Riley questioned as she opened the door, before freezing with her eyes wide as she looked up at the person on the other side. Gogo, for her part, looked down impassively at Riley, blowing a bubble with her gum and pulling it into her mouth, her riding helmet tucked under her arm. "Hey," Gogo greeted with a nod of her head. Hey," Riley replied, her voice cracking as she found it again, making her flush with embarrassment. What are you doing here?" "Heard it was your birthday," Gogo explained with a smirk. "Happy birthday, by the way." "Thanks," Riley replied with surprise as a smile spread across her face. "So I was thinking, you're still pretty new here," Gogo said. Her eyes focused on her nails, cleaning them as she talked. "How about I show you around?" Riley mumbled in reply, unsure of what to say. As Riley struggled, her mother walked up behind her. "Good morning," Jill greeted suddenly. You're Yuri, right? I am, Gogo replied, holding her hand out to Jill. It's nice to meet you, Miss Anderson. Please, just call me Jill, she replied as she shook Gogo's offered hand. So what brings you here? Heard it was Riley's birthday, Gogo answered with a shrug. Was wondering if she wanted me to show her around a bit. She's still a little new here after all. I think that sounds like a wonderful idea, Jill stated as she laid her hands on Riley's shoulders and looked down at her daughter. Don't you think so, Riley? Can I? Riley questioned hopefully as she looked up at her mother. Of course, Jill replied. It's your birthday, after all. Riley beamed up at her mother before turning her attention back to Gogo. Let me go throw on my shoes, Riley said before darting away, causing Gogo to snort in amusement. Thank you for doing this again, Jill whispered to Gogo. I can tell she really looks up to you. She seems like a cool kid, Gogo replied with a shrug. It will be fun. So we'll meet you at the rink around 3? Jill questioned. That's what I was told, Gogo confirmed with a nod. Ready! Riley declared as she ran back up to the front door. Then let's roll, Gogo replied, jerking her hand in the direction of the street. Have fun, Jill called as Gogo and Riley made their way down the stairs to the sidewalk. I will, Riley called back with a wave. If you're hearing the humming, I've just turned the fan on. So tell me, Fargo, Gogo said as they reached the bottom of the stairs. You ever ridden a motorcycle before? I, rode a Tadashi's moped at one time, Riley answered. So that would be a no, Gogo said with a derisive snort as she put her riding helmet back on. You're in for a treat then. Walking to the curb, Riley's eyes widened as she saw the yellow and black, Japanese-style motorcycle parked there. Gogo walked over to the motorcycle while fishing a set of keys out of her jacket pocket, and straddled it before putting a key in the ignition and starting it up. The motorcycle revved loudly as its engine started, giving Riley pause as she stood next to it. Here, Gogo said, speaking louder so she could be heard over the roar of the engine as she handed... Sorry, I dropped my phone. As she handed Riley a yellow riding helmet. Put this on. Nodding, Riley took the helmet and slid it on, the helmet sitting snugly in her head. Get on, Gogo instructed, motioning towards the back of the bike with her thumb. Nodding again, Riley quickly pulled herself onto the back of the bike seat, settling in and getting as comfortable as she could. Hold on tight, Gogo instructed, prompting Riley to wrap her arms about the young woman's midsection. You ready? Yeah, Riley declared. Then let's... Okay, here we go, Gogo replied as she kicked up the bike's kickstand, revved the engine, and lifted her feet up as the bike started rolling down the street. Passing the house, Riley saw her mother wave and smile nervously at her, prompting Riley to give a quick wave back before quickly grabbing back onto Gogo as the bike picked up speed. Turning onto the main roads of San Francisco, Riley couldn't help but smile broadly as the wind went by. I heard Magic pulled some pretty crazy stunts in that moped of his, Gogo said over her shoulder, speaking even louder so the wind wouldn't carry away her words. Yeah, Riley acknowledged. It was so cool. You haven't seen anything yet, Gogo declared. Hold on. Wrapping her arms tighter around the older girl, Riley let out a whoop of delight as Gogo gunned the engine, sending them shooting down the street. Gogo expertly darted around a few of the cars in the road, earning angry honks as they zipped by. Riley was practically laughing with joy as they rolled to a stop at the top of a steep hill. The rest of the city and the San Francisco harbor stretched out before them, the Toji Gate Bridge standing proud at a distance. Looking down the hill, Riley found that the road snaked its way down the hill, slithering back and forth until it reached the very bottom. Whoa, Riley said as she looked down at the street with wide eyes. Yeah, Gogo agreed with a chuckle as she glanced back at Riley. You ready for this? Born ready, Riley declared, earning a laugh from Gogo. That's what I like to hear. Hold tight. Gogo declared before revving the engine and urging the motorcycle down the hill. In the back of her mind, Riley knew Gogo was going down the road faster than was advisable, but the adrenaline pumping through her veins kept the thought at bay. The motorcycle's tires screeched as Gogo took the tight turns on the switchback road, the forces of the momentum rocking the rider and passenger back and forth. Riley let out a whoop of joy as they reached the bottom of the hill. Before the bike rocketed down the road, a car blaring its horn at them as Gogo swerved around it. Riley was still laughing as Gogo pulled the bike to the side of the road and killed the engine. "You like that?" Gogo questioned, looking over her shoulder at Riley as she pulled off her helmet and ran a hand through her hair. "Are you kidding?" Riley asked in return as she pulled off her helmet as well, strands of hair sticking in every direction. "That was amazing!" "Thrill seeker, huh?" Gogo inquired with a laugh. "I'm liking you more and more, Fargo." Riley beamed back at Gogo before taking the time to glance around, noticing that they had parked out in front of a hair salon. "Where are we?" Riley questioned. "This is a hair salon my mom runs," Gogo explained, nodding towards it as she stepped off the bike. "Come on." Following Gogo, Riley stepped into the salon, stepping into the waiting area which had a few chairs scattered around, a simple red rug covering the ground, a coffee table covered in magazines, and a television in the upper corner displaying the news. A service desk sat across the room from the door, and beyond it Riley could see from the working area of the salon, catching sight of a few hairdressers busily at work. Behind the service desk was a middle-aged woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to Gogo, with a slighter build and curly black hair. She narrowed her brown eyes at Gogo as she approached. "Why do you ride that death trap, Yuri?" The woman questioned without preamble, her voice thick with an accent Riley couldn't place. "You're going to get yourself killed someday." "Yo ma," Gogo groaned, rolling her eyes and putting her hands on her hips as she stopped in front of the desk. "I'm serious," the woman continued. "You're going to crush or blow yourself up, and then where will I be? I'll tell you. Dead. Then my heart will give out because my only daughter has died. We'll both be dead, and that will make you a murderer." Gogo narrowed her eyes and looked like she was about to argue, but her mother had already turned her attention towards Riley. "Who's this pretty young lady?" Miss Park asked, smiling at Riley. "This is Riley Anderson," Gogo explained. "She's a friend of mine. Riley, this is my mother." "You hanging out at elementary schools now?" her mother questioned, quirking an eyebrow at Gogo before looking back at Riley. "She didn't make you get on the bike, did she?" I mean," Riley struggled to answer, causing Miss Park to sigh. "You're taking little girls on joyrides now?" Miss Park questioned as she turned back to Gogo. "You're going to get her killed too, and then her mother will die of sadness. You'll be a murderer 3 times over." "Yo ma," Gogo growled threateningly. "Anyway, what can I help you two with?" Miss Park questioned. "It's Riley's birthday today," Gogo explained. "I was going to treat her by getting her hair colored." Riley gasped in surprise and looked at Gogo excitedly. "It's bad enough you make my girls put that stuff in your hair," Miss Park chided as she gestured at the purple streaks in Gogo's hair. "Now you want to force it on this sweet little girl." "Yo ma, if you don't like it, why do you even carry it?" Gogo questioned, quirking an eyebrow right back at her mother. "Fine," Miss Park relented. "Have her pick out the color, and I'll let you know when one of the girls are ready." I do apologize if I'm causing a bit of trouble with the accent I'm using for Miss Park. Oh well. Smirking victoriously, Gogo led Riley over to a rack filled with hair coloring. "Alright, Fargo, what's your favorite color?" Gogo questioned while glancing down at Riley's t-shirt, before reaching out to grab a strand of Riley's blonde hair and holding it up. Other than yellow, that is. I'm gonna need a drink. Alright. Riley looked up at Gogo for a moment before grinning. Later. Over an hour had passed by the time Riley and Gogo stepped out of the hair salon, Miss Park complaining about the motorcycle as they left. Riley grinned as she held out a strand of her hair so she could look at it, now colored the same shade of violet as the streaks in Gogo's own. Riley quickly tucked it back behind her ear with the rest of the purple streak that ran down the left side of her hair as she followed Gogo to her motorcycle. As she walked, Riley's stomach suddenly let out a loud growl, causing the girl to blush as Gogo paused and looked back at her. Hungry? Gogo ventured, earning a nod from Riley. Me too. Is there anywhere around here that has good food? Riley asked. I know a pretty good place, Gogo stated as she straddled her motorcycle. You ever eat sushi before? Riley shook her head uncertainly as she took the yellow helmet and put it on. You up for trying some? Gogo questioned as she put on her own helmet. I promise it will be good. Okay, Riley agreed after a moment as she climbed onto the motorcycle. Let's do it. It didn't take them long to reach their destination, which sat on the crest of one of San Francisco's many hills a few blocks away. The building was not very attention-grabbing. The building was not very attention-grabbing, more attention-sharing, as it shared the same Japanese architectural style as the rest of the city. What did stand out was the bright, anime-esque fish painted on the sign above the doors, declaring the building to be Takahito's Sushi Wonderland. Gogo parked her bike in the parking lot and led Riley inside. The restaurant was a simple affair with a few tables scattered about with dim lighting and cream-colored walls. Near the back was a bar with a number of chairs lined up on one side. On the other side of the bar, separated by a plexiglass barrier, was a preparation area for sushi. The rest of the kitchen lay beyond it, including a grill that sent a cloud of white steam floating into the grate in the roof. Irashaimase! The half-dozen cooks called from the kitchen as the bell above the door announced Gogo and Riley's arrival. Irashaimase in English is basically, come and get served when your food is done. As she looked at the cooks, one in particular gave her pause. Wasabi? She questioned in confusion, prompting the young man to look up from the vegetables he was slicing and grin at her. Wasabi, like the other cooks, was dressed in a long white tunic secured with a cloth belt over a pair of black pants. He wore a simple white hat on his head, his dreads pulled back into a tight ponytail. Hey, little lady, Wasabi greeted with a grin as Riley followed Gogo up to the sushi bar. How's it going? Good. Riley grinned as Gogo took a seat, prompting Riley to do the same. You work here? Sure do, Wasabi replied as he went back to dicing the vegetable in front of him. Have to pay the bills somehow. Riley watched with fascination as Wasabi used a razor-sharp knife in his hand to slice the vegetable into little chunks. You're really good at that, Riley admired. Thanks, Wasabi replied. I've had years of practice. Happy birthday, by the way. Thank you, Riley replied with a smile before a thought occurred to her, and she glanced between Wasabi and Gogo. Wait, did you guys plan this? Wasabi paused in cutting up another vegetable and looked at Gogo, who stopped removing her gloves to look back at him. Then, simultaneously, they both smirked and shrugged their shoulders, earning a laugh from Riley that they both joined in on. So, what will it be? Wasabi questioned. I've never had sushi before, Riley replied, looking up at Wasabi. What should I get? Tell you what, I'll whip you up something special, okay? Wasabi suggested. You'll love it, I promise. As long as it doesn't have any broccoli in it, Riley warned. Wouldn't dream of it, Wasabi assured her with a grin. Okay, Riley allowed, prompting Wasabi to begin working. Man, I don't know how you stand the heat in here, Gogo stated as she began pulling off her leather jacket. You get used to it, Wasabi replied with a shrug, stealing glances at Gogo as she stripped down to her white tank top. Glancing over at Gogo, Riley's eyes widened as she looked at the young woman's shoulder, or more specifically, the tattoo that covered it. The tattoo was of an animal, one Riley immediately recognized as a fox, with its canine features and red and white fur. The image seemed to depict the fox crawling down Gogo's arm. What really caught Riley's attention, though, was what was unusual about the fox, because instead of one tail, the fox had multiple, 9 by Riley's quick count. The tails also appeared longer than a fox's tail tended to be, fanning out to cover the entirety of Gogo's shoulder and disappearing under her tank top. The image had been done in the same style as traditional Japanese art, and the tails seemed to bend and curl around one another like wisps of smoke. "You like it?" Gogo questioned, snapping Riley out of her thoughts for the start. "Yeah," Riley replied, her face flushing at having been caught staring. "Here, take a closer look," Gogo said as she pulled the straps of her tank top and bra down, allowing Riley to see where the tattoo ended over the young woman's shoulder blade. "That's so cool," Riley whispered in awe before looking back at Gogo. "What is it?" "It's a Kyubi no Kitsune," Gogo answered as she put her straps back into place. "A 9-tailed fox." "What's that?" Riley inquired. "It's a creature from Japanese folklore," Gogo explained. "It's said that the older a fox got, the more tails it would grow, and by doing so it would get magical powers. The most it could get was 9, meaning one that all of them was very clever, very powerful, and very dangerous." "I still don't know why you got that," Wasabi spoke up. "Injecting ink into your skin with dirty needles. Ugh. Plus, you're not Japanese, you're Korean." "So what?" Gogo questioned as she rolled her eyes. "That means I was supposed to get what? A unicorn? Please. Besides, my parents might be from Korea, but I was raised here. I grew up around this stuff more than anything Korean." "I think it's really cool," Riley stated, prompting Gogo to smile and give Wasabi a "see? Look," earning a shrug from the young man as he went back to preparing their food. "I personally think the kitsunes are awesome. When I think of kitsunes, I usually think of Kurama. You know, the Kyubi, or 9-tailed fox from Naruto. Naruto." "Don't let my mother hear you say that," Gogo stated as she turned back to Riley. "But thanks, Fargo. Your parents better hope I'm not around to take you out for your 18th birthday. I don't think they'd like what you come back with." Riley chuckled as Wasabi turned back to them and handed them each a plate with a few pieces of sushi on it. "Yeah, Kami-sama forbid that she goes out drinking when she's 18. "Dig in," Wasabi said with a smile as the girls took the plates. "Thanks," Riley said as she placed the plate down in front of her, before glancing around for silverware, a worried look crossing her face as she only found chopsticks. "Hey," Wasabi spoke up, bringing Riley's attention to him as he handed her a fork from the other side of the bar while winking at her. "It's okay to cheat a little." "Yep, I guess so. It is her first time trying Japanese food." Riley thanked Wasabi with a smile as she took the fork from him, before spearing a piece of sushi with it. Holding it up in front of her, Riley hesitated for a moment as she looked down at the sushi. Glancing over at Gogo, Riley saw the young woman was already using a pair of chopsticks to dig into the sushi, happily munching on one of the pieces. Shrugging, Riley put the sushi into her mouth and started chewing. A moment later, her entire face lit up. "This is really good!" Riley exclaimed through her mouth full of rice, vegetables, and fish. "Thanks," Wasabi replied before grimacing in disgust. "And please don't talk with your mouth full." "Sorry," Riley mumbled sheepishly as she swallowed her food and went for another piece of sushi. "Enjoying your meal?" a voice asked to Riley's side, causing her to jump in surprise. Turning towards the source of the noise, Riley found an old man standing to her side. He was short, standing as tall as Gogo, with short, snow-white hair and a kindly, wrinkled face. His skin was tan and leathery, and he wore a black cloth jacket, along with similarly colored pants and wooden sandals. "My apologies," the man said with a soft but gravelly voice. "I did not mean to startle you." "It's okay," Riley replied with a chuckle. "And yes, the food is great." "It pleases me to hear that," the old man replied with a grin that fit perfectly on his face. "I'm happy that all of my lessons have stuck with Darren." The old man turned to look at Wasabi. "Is it your shift over?" the old man asked rhetorically. "Come, eat with your friends." "Thank you, Takahito-sensei," Wasabi replied as he gave the old man a quick bow before he went about meticulously cleaning his knives before sliding the meat into a specific slot on the knife block that sat nearby. If I was a bit quiet there, I'm sorry, but I was just trying to climb up a steep hill. It's okay, I've managed it. "Sensei?" Riley questioned as Wasabi made his way over to the kitchen sink to wash his hands. It means teacher," the old man, Takahito, explained. "You taught him how to cook?" Riley questioned as she put another piece of sushi into her mouth. "That, among other things," Takahito answered. "What other things?" Riley questioned through a mouthful of food. "Takahito-sensei is also a matter of karate and tai chi," Wasabi explained as he walked around to the front of the sushi bar, taking off his hat and shaking out his dreads. "Dude, seriously, your mouth." "Lay off the kid," Gogo spoke up, her mouth also full of food. "If you think he's bad now, you should have seen him when we first met," Takahito commented with a loud laugh that didn't seem to fit his small frame. "He was so afraid of germs, I wasn't sure he would make it through the door." Riley laughed as she ate the last piece of sushi. "I didn't know you knew karate," Riley stated as she looked over at Wasabi. "I mean, I know a little," Wasabi answered with a shrug. "Dude, you're a black belt," Gogo spoke up as she gave Wasabi an annoyed glare. "You know more than a little." "Wow, really?" Riley questioned in shock. "Darren is my very best student," Takahito stated with a proud smile. "He has come very far in a few short years." That's not true," Wasabi argued weakly, his face flushing. "Are you calling me a liar?" Takahito questioned, arcing a white eyebrow at Wasabi as his smile disappeared. No, Sensei," Wasabi quickly backpedaled, causing Riley to giggle in amusement. "Good," Takahito replied simply, his smile returning as he turned his attention back to Riley. "I hope you enjoyed your meal." "I did, thank you," Riley replied. "Why don't you head outside, Fargo?" Gogo suggested as she nodded towards the door. "I'll settle the bill." Riley nodded, thanked Wasabi and Takahito again, and left. "She seems like a bright and cheerful young woman," Takahito commented. "Yeah, she's pretty cool," Gogo agreed before looking at Wasabi. "You going to head over now?" "Yeah," Wasabi replied. "I'll let you know when I get there." "Cool," Gogo stated as she left some money in the sushi bar. "Don't dawdle, though. I can't stall forever." "I'll get there as quickly as traffic laws allow me," Wasabi replied as Gogo put her jacket back on, causing the young woman to roll her eyes and sigh. Gogo glanced at Takahito, who merely chuckled and shrugged before making his way to the kitchen, prompting the young woman to exit the restaurant, the bell jingling behind her as she went. I am already starting to like Takahito a lot. If he actually has a voice actor, if there was a remake of Big Hero 6 crossing over with Inside Out's ending and Home, I believe his voice actor would be the legendary Samurai Jack. Phil Lamar, I believe. Alright, office note. and I follow up a relatively short chapter with this monster. Seriously, there was going to be more, but it got to be too much, so I've split it between this chapter and the next. As you all have probably picked up, next to writing action scenes, I really like writing character and world-building stuff. Hope you liked it too. As always, feedback and critiques are always welcome, so please review. Later! I'll see you later, Finmonster. You excellent fanfic writer, you. Anyway, that will be the end of that for now. But until a very short while, I'm the Masked Ranger, saying Takahito-sensei is best OC. I'm just saying that. And, as always, keep moving forward.